Hi, everyone. We're back with another Flip in the Script. We're going to give it a few moments here for people to join us. We'll get started momentarily. All right. Good evening, everyone. We are here with an episode of Flip in the Script with Sarah Brandt, the Repertory Theater of St. Louis's Communications Director. Hi, Sarah.
Hello. Good
So
evening.
excited to have you here tonight. Can you just start off with an introduction? Tell us your role, how long you've been at the Rep, and any unique fact about you that the people may not know.
Oh, a unique fact. My name is Sarah Brandt, and I am from the St. Louis area, from Wildwood, actually. So, yay, Missouri. I'm born and raised. I have worked at the Rep for 18 years now. This was my first job after college, except for like waiting tables. So this is my first and only real place of employment. I came and stuck around, and have had several different positions at the Rep so far. But a unique fact. Oh, how about that I am almost 5'10" and still am the shortest person in my immediate family.
Nice. Whole family. I like it. I will admit to you live on Facebook and Instagram, I did not realize you'd been at the Rep that long. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. I started like a million years ago. I think I want to say it was 2003, and I'm doing the math now. But yeah, 18 seasons. I started as the receptionist. My first year, I was right out of college, and I needed a job. And I was like, hey, they'll pay me and give me some benefits. And so I started as the receptionist, and I stayed there for one season until an opening in the education department came about. And I moved into the education department and stayed there for 17 years, and now transitioned into my new role as in communications.
Incredible.
It's been really interesting because having done those different roles, I have gotten to learn a lot about various different parts of the organization, which is really interesting.
Yeah, that's so great. Can you tell us in your current role as Director of Communications what your responsibilities are?
Yeah, it's a new position, which I'm really lucky to have, and Hannah kind of let me craft on my own. It's really, again, kind of growing with the Rep in all these years. I sat down with Hannah when she joined us a year and a half ago now, 2 years ago now, and she was getting to know everyone, and she kind of wanted to know what I do and what I was interested in. We talked a little bit. And I remember at one point, and I don't know if it was our first conversation or another one, but at some point she said, it sounds like you like to tell stories and you should be telling the Rep's story. And I was like, well, that would be great. And we kind of thought together about how that might work and talked about creating a new position, and we're able to do that together. And she put me into this role to tell the Rep's story, both internally and externally, to keep all of our staff informed and aware of all of the amazing work each other is doing, and then also to translate that work to the community and keep everyone in the area and nationally informed about the wonderful work being done at the Rep, both backstage and on stage and in the community. And whether it's through, emails or articles, magazines, programs in the theater, there's all sorts of different ways to communicate that story about the Rep. And so that is my goal now.
That's such an important role, and I think can often go overlooked because there's some immediate needs that we have in terms of theater communications, right? Like sell tickets to the plays. But it's such a actually beautiful moment to kind of craft this role where you're not only telling the story of what the programming is on stage that people can come see, but who we are and what we offer to the community. So
yeah,
I'm really grateful you're here.
it's exactly the goal. And I think it took Hannah coming in with like a fresh view of what was possible to specify what I had already been thinking about. And so that was just a really nice way we were able to do that together.
Absolutely. If anyone is watching who is completely unfamiliar with the Repertory Theater of St. Louis, Hannah is Hannah S. Sharif, the Augustin Family Artistic Director at the Repertory Theater of St. Louis. Yeah. Well, speaking of how you are a master storyteller, can you tell us your origin story with theater? What got you interested in theater in the first place to where you came to, there's receptionist jobs a lot of places, but you came to the Repertory Theater of St. Louis. What's your connection?
I'll be honest, there isn't one. I have a weird origin story with theater because I came to it later in life than most people who work in theater do. I feel like the majority of my colleagues, not all, but the majority of my colleagues, both at the Rep and in the industry at large, really felt a calling to theater early, and maybe were theater kids in high school and maybe went to school for theater in college. And that is not something I did. Now, the arts have always been a part of my life. My parents took us to theater. They took us to the Muni. We did plays in school, and we played instruments, and we took art classes. And so art was always a big part of our lives, but it was not a career goal for me. And I think one of the main reasons I didn't get more involved in theater until I started working at the Rep was because I didn't know that there were different kinds of theater until I started working at the Rep. Like I said, in St. Louis, we do actually have quite a bit of theater available, but if you don't know about it, like I said before, I'm from Wildwood, so I'm not in the city. It's far outside the city. We're removed from a lot of it out there. And I didn't know that there were shows except just like big classic musicals, which is great. And maybe you want to see that sometimes, but I didn't know there was like hard hitting, gritty stuff or just things I'd never even heard of until I started working at the Rep. So my first year as receptionist, we got, free ticket to see the show. And I took advantage of that. And I saw like I do now, see all the shows in the season. And just one after another went, well, holy moly, what is this? Like the first show I saw at the Rep was Metamorphoses. And there was, if you're not familiar with this show, there's a giant pool of water on the stage. And I mean swimming pool, like the actors swim around in it. And it's about myths and just the interweaving of these characters, and they're in this pool. And it was just amazing to someone who had only ever seen like Christmas Carol, which is also one of my favorites, but obviously quite different from something like that. So it was really when I started working at the Rep randomly as a receptionist just to pay my bills after college that I went, holy moly, this is something for me. And so I started, like I said, kind of talking to everyone on staff about how I might be able to help them or what they might have for me to learn about. Got the opportunity to move into the education department, which was perfect for me for a really long time because it is a place in the theater that you get to work with everyone. You get to work with all of the different departments if you work in education. You get to work with everyone on the administrative staff, but you also have the luxury, which a lot of administrative staff doesn't, of getting to regularly work with everyone in the theater, everyone in production, behind the scenes, learning all of the ins and outs and all of the special stuff that goes on that a lot of people don't know. So that was really where it took root in me and became something that I knew I wanted to stick with.
That's so sweet. And I love that the Rep is actually the place where you fell in love with theater. I'm sure that's true for a lot of people. You're also the second Flippin' the Script guest to bring up Mary Zimmerman's Metamorphoses. So really? Shout out to that show for changing lives.
Yeah. Wow.
So speaking of your transition into the education department, can you talk a little bit more? You said you worked in the education department for 16 years, which is incredible. Can you talk about that work and what makes you passionate about arts programming for young people?
Yeah, I think our education department at the Rep is very robust. And so we have probably a lot more programming than people are aware of. So we really have quite a bit that is meant to enrich what you see on stage for adults. And then we also have a whole different side which is for theater for young audiences and programming for kids. And I really liked both of those. I always say one of my favorite things to do when we're able to be in the theater is to bring someone to a show and to kind of like during the show be like, hey, did you know that's not actually wood? Or like, did you know our painters actually created that whole thing? And the person who you brought that doesn't know that is just awestruck half the time that's the case. And so that is part of our education department goal, which is enriching the theater experience and helping our audience learn more about what they see on stage, that I really like. And it's not just about like how the show is built, but what the show's about and what went into the creation of it and what the playwright was trying to get across to the audience. And just there's so much that you can share with your audience, and the education department let me do that. Again, kind of telling the story of the rep. But the other side of that is theater for young audiences, and that is just part of the rep that has my heart. ITC, Imaginary Theater Company, is the touring company of the rep that goes all over the state, all over Illinois, and into other states sometimes too, bringing professional quality theater to schools and to community centers and libraries, and for children ages like kindergarten through 6th grade that may never have seen a show before, or certainly have never seen certain types of shows just like me before. And it is just such a special program that we do. And again, maybe a lot of people don't know about it, but it's been around for over 50 years, I want to say. Ever since, early in the history of the rep, Imaginary Theater Company came about and is still going strong. And it is such an important program. And the education department really has a very strong mission to bring that into the world of Missouri and the nation. So that has always been, since I learned about it, a really special part of the rep for me.
Yeah, it's such an incredible program. And you described it in a beautiful way, but you omitted something really key, which is that you don't just work on those shows or contextualize the work for young people. You write theater for young audiences, and many of your productions have actually been, or many of your stories have actually been produced by the Imaginary Theater Company and published. So can you talk to us a little bit about your work as a writer?
Yeah, well, that was certainly not something I did right off the bat. that came about just because I thought it might be an interesting thing to try. Again, I loved what I was seeing in Imaginary Theater Company so much that I thought maybe I could do it for fun on the side and do it for my friends or something, create a script to do at home with my nephews. But yeah, I guess I had been in the education department helping Imaginary Theater Company like create their seasons and reading lots of scripts and watching the seasons come together and getting to go to rehearsals and really learning a lot more about it, probably for at least 5 years, probably more than that, at least 5 years though, before I even considered that is something I could try. And an opportunity arose to just adapt a story for the stage as a learning exercise for me with our then education director, Marcia Copeland, who was kind of helping me figure it out. I did not write my first script with the intention of it ever being produced. It's certainly not professionally, but at the rep, we have a beautiful partnership with other theaters in the St. Louis area and also Webster University's conservatory, which is the home of some great professionals in lots of different types of theater. And I was able to connect with a really wonderful composer. His name is Neil Richardson, and he taught me how to write a musical. And it was just out of the goodness of his heart that he did it, because he was such a wonderful person. But he really just kind of gave me this masterclass in private on how to do it and the formula of a good musical, and helped me with my first script and putting those pieces together. And after he put his mark on my work, then it was actually something I could consider real. And so that partnership really is how it all started for me. But yeah, since then, my first work with Neil as composer, I wrote the script, he wrote the music and lyrics, and it was called My Father's Dragon. And we did it at the rep, and I can't remember what year, but we premiered that at the Rep, and I think it has actually been done at the Rep another time since then. But that was my first, and now I've got 8. I want to say, yeah, I think I'm right. 8, 8 different shows that have all premiered at the Rep. Now, several of them have gone on to be at other theaters around the country and even internationally. Not all of them by any means, but several of them have. And the cool thing is that they were all started at the Rep and all came together with the team we have there.
That's so cool. And I'm a big fan of your work, Sarah. So I'm going to shout out for people watching that if anyone has brought kids or grandkids or come on your own to see The Elves and the Shoemaker, the Gnome for Christmas, some of the best holiday shows, the Christmas Skates. These are all Sarah Brandt originals that are fantastic musicals for young audiences that have brought so much joy all around Missouri, Illinois, and beyond.
Yeah, and that is one of my favorite parts of any Rep season is seeing, like I said, Imaginary Theater Company typically takes these shows to schools and community centers all over the area, but they do once a year stop their tour and come back home to the Rep and do the show for the public. And that is always one of my favorite days of the year. Seeing families and kids come to the theater to see something I wrote is just, whoo, that's fun.
Yeah, for sure. And I hinted earlier, but I'm just going to continue to make you uncomfortable because you've been so humble, but really you're amazing and that people need to know. So can you tell us about your script getting published?
Oh, well, 2 of them are published so far, so it's not like all of them or anything. But yeah, A Peter Rabbit Tale is published by Play Scripts, and that is the one that it's been published for quite a while. And so that's the play that's been in like Singapore and the United Kingdom and places I couldn't have even imagined. But I am excited that my most recent play at the Rep, the Christmas Skates. So if anybody saw that, that was last season 4 last. What year is it? The Christmas Skates is the most recent thing I wrote for the Rep, and that is being published right now. And so that's very exciting because that means other theaters are going to get to do it easily and share that with the world easily. And I'm really, really happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy about that for you. And it's also a very cool thing for the Rep. I don't know if people are aware that both on our Imaginary Theater Company stages as well as our main stage, the Rep is developing work that's being sent out nationally and internationally. So everything from, Christmas Skates or Peter Rabbit being originating at the Rep and then getting produced in places beyond to premieres we've done like Until the Flood, which has gone on to have an incredible run in several places around the country. And quick pitch is about to be streaming online starting November 15th. The Rep is actually not just a home for bringing wonderful art to the St. Louis region, but also for developing and creating art that then St. Louis offers to the rest of the world. And I think it's incredible that you are such a big part of that as our resident writer, one of our resident writers.
Yeah, me too. And just like you said, part of my current position is in communications is really to share, just like you just said, that stuff about all of the work that's being done that people may not realize is originating at the Rep and is being built and produced and everything. We're not just bringing people in to put on a show. We are making that show for you. And I really think that's part of the story that people need to hear.
For sure. Also, I should just shout out for our viewers who are watching. If you're watching on Facebook, you can put a question for Sarah in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, there should be a live chat where you can put a question for Sarah and we will answer it live. So please, unless you're watching this after the fact, in which case we will answer it not live in the comments. But please throw out your questions. You are receiving a lot of love, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, I have a couple more hard-hitting questions for you, Sarah.
Oh boy.
Now you've told us about your experience in all kinds of different areas and how long you've been with the Rep. For someone who's just starting out in the theater industry, what advice would you have for someone pursuing a career?
I think if you know early enough on that you like before college, then obviously really be particular about what program you choose for your college experience because they are not all equal. And some of them are going to benefit you much, much more strongly than others. So obviously, I mean, that's probably the case for any career, but there are some really great theater schools full of professionals that really want to help you learn and grow. And Webster's one of them, but there are a lot all over the country. And so if you know early, definitely take the leap and go to a school for theater. If you don't know and you come to it later than me, or later like I did, I really think it's all about learning everything you can about the different areas in the theater, because you may never have dreamed that the kind of thing I do is even something that people do, and that's probably how I would have been before. Like, I definitely would not have ever thought of being a playwright, but it's a real job and people are doing it every day. And it's an important job, especially right now. People need to learn and grow and change together through art. And so just if you're interested at all in any kind of career in the arts, immerse yourself in learning about all the different aspects of that art and where you might best fit in that puzzle.
That's good advice. I also agree. Like, the more different jobs you can have in theater, the better, or probably in anything, but definitely in theater. If you could change one thing within our industry, within the theater industry, like just magic, snap your fingers and overnight it would change, what would it be and why?
I think it would be for more important, large theaters to take their children's offerings more seriously. I think that a lot of major regional theaters have programming for children, but I think that it is often not given the level of importance and respect it deserves. And I think that there are certainly theaters that do respect their children's programming and create really wonderful stuff. But I think that very often theater for young audiences and any programming for children is kind of just like, oh, maybe they'll be the theater lovers of the future, so let's introduce them to the art. But really, they are theater lovers now, and they are so much more passionate and honest and intelligent than we give them credit for, and can really benefit from good quality programming as much as adults can. And so I think that would be, I mean, I've been lucky at the Rep that has never been the case. Our shows for Imaginary Theater Company are built by the same artisans that build the main stage shows, and are professional actors and directors that have also directed on the main stage. And so that's not the case at the Rep, but it is certainly something industry-wide that I think I would like to see more commonly done.
I love that. I think that's true on so many levels, right? Like, taking it seriously can mean investing in it financially, like you said, making sure that the artists involved are top quality professionals. But also just, I think, to your earlier point, telling the story of it, right? Because I think at every theater I've had the opportunity to work at, there's always been offerings for young people. But I don't know if people always know that, because it's not necessarily the main story that you're telling about yourself. So right. It's awesome to have a director of communications who is going to prioritize telling that story, for sure. I don't have comments for you or chat. Good grief, questions for you in the comments. But it's not too late, folks. If you have questions, please throw them out. I think it's really important that people know that we who work at the Rep are full human beings with robust lives. So I'd love if you would just share with us, you're not just passionate about young people in the theater. You are a mom of an incredible child. Can you tell us a little bit about your family?
Yeah, I have a great family, and well, I'm sure everyone does, but I have a really special family because they're all here. We're all not in this room, but they're all in Missouri, and they're all close to me. And so I get to spend a lot of time with my mom and dad and my sister and brother and my aunts and uncles. And that's really a special thing. But yeah, in this house, I have a wonderful husband and a cutest little 1.5-year-old you could ever want to see.
Do you tell him stories, and or has he seen any of your work?
He has not. He isn't quite old enough to sit still that long, but he definitely likes books and puppets so far. So I'm very encouraged. Although I also think he's very into a lot of stuff right now. I think he's gonna be a scientist one day, and the next day I'm pretty convinced he's gonna be a soccer star, and the next day he's gonna be a writer. So I mean, he's just learning so much so fast right now, which is so fun to see. But as a storyteller, I'm really, really happy to see his interest in books. So that's very important to me.
For sure. Would you let him go into a career in the theater?
Sure. As long as he can buy groceries for himself.
That's pretty important. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for talking to us about all of this, Sarah. I think your journey is so cool. I love that people can come into our family in so many ways, and that the Rep has created an artistic and administrative home for you, and that you have given back so much to the Rep and beyond. As a new person here, like the endless amount of knowledge that you have about the Rep's story is just tremendously helpful. So I'm personally grateful. As you know, Flippin' the Script always ends with a lightning segment of fun facts in 60 seconds.
Oh boy. Okay.
This is a section where I'm just going to ask you a series of questions to respond to as many as possible in the time, so we can learn really critical information like your favorite color. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock.
I feel like I'm on Family Feud.
Yeah, basically. Okay. Favorite fall food?
Pumpkin pie.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite play?
Ooh. Maybe Take Me Out. Maybe I Am My Own Wife. I don't know. Those are very different.
Very different. You can have both. The last song you listened to?
I was listening to Chris Stapleton. I don't remember what song it was.
Fair enough. Last book you read?
Goodnight Moon.
Favorite vacation spot?
Maui. Oh, can't wait to go back there.
Last podcast you listened to?
Honestly, I don't think I've ever listened to a podcast.
Okay, I'm going to give you some recs. Morning person or night owl?
Used to be night owl for sure, but now that I have a kid, morning.
Fair enough. Favorite pizza topping?
Mushrooms.
Oh, puppies or kittens?
Oh, definitely puppies.
As you can hear, that was 60 seconds.
Yeah, I did a lot of them, didn't I?
You got through. I think that was the most we've ever gotten through thus far. You did great. I'm going to have to reevaluate asking for people's favorite play. That is always stumping people.
Yeah, that's a tough one, especially if you've seen a lot.
For sure. Luckily, I just asked the questions. I wouldn't be able to give just one at all for almost any of those questions.
That is I'm going to, it's probably Take Me Out. I'm thinking I have a picture of Take Me Out on my office wall, and it was such a wonderful play. So maybe Take Me Out, but I Am My Own Wife. Oh, that's just like heartbreaking. I don't know.
It's too hard. There's too many genres of plays. Like, that's too hard. Maybe if we specified down to like, favorite comedy, favorite drama, favorite musical, like maybe in categories you can pick one. But for theater lovers, how can we pick just one?
I don't know. Possible.
Try. I appreciate your effort to meet the criteria of the segment.
You bet.
Sarah, it's been awesome talking to you. Thank you for joining us. Everyone, we will be back 2 weeks from today with another episode of Flippin' the Script. If you do have further questions about Sarah or her work or her journey, please feel free to put them in the comments, and we will make sure to ask Sarah and have an opportunity to get back to you. Thank you so much. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon.